Cadre. I thought I'd get at least one vacation shave in here. This is the only morning that nobody has to get up at a specific time, and we've got packed full of plans, so I get to use the bigger bathroom and have a little bit of time and talk about my travel kit and make a video. So like everything else in this hobby, to each their own. I guess I sometimes find it interesting when people are using smaller razors or smaller brushes, that type of a thing, unless you're really one of those compact packing travelers, which I'm not for the most part. If I'm driving, we're going to be, have all the space that we need, and if we're flying, we try to check a bag. One, just so my wife doesn't have to worry about all of her toiletries and things, and then that enables me to take blades and whatever I want without worrying about it. So space doesn't tend to be an issue. I'm still not taking some of the full-size things I normally would, even though I can. I have the standard dot bag, and everything that I'm using fits in here. But one of the concessions I do make is bringing samples. So I guess I could take a couple full-size tubs, but there is a huge size difference there, and I like my variety. So I think I packed 5 sample containers for this trip, and I'm already wishing that I had packed a few more. Used up 3 of them, so I'm down to 2 with a couple more days left. So I'm going to be repeating soaps, which I guess is fine, but it just drives me a little bit nuts. This one is Bay Lime from Stone Cottage shaving, I believe, or Stone Cottage soap or something like that. But I got this quite a long time ago, and I don't know if you can see, but it's now fairly hard and it's getting a little crumbly and stuff. So I thought this might be an example for some as to how you can still use these without an issue. So there we've got our gelato spoons worth of soap, and you can see it's a little bit crumbly and chunky and that type of a thing. So I'll take that. Normally a soap I try to smear around the edge of my bowl to load onto my brush, but because this one's kind of junky and crumbly, we're gonna smush it down. It's taking some pressure. Yeah, it just wants to fall right out of there, but this will work. Trust me, we'll get into the corners and what have you. Alright, so there we got some. It's not smeared as thin as I would like, but I bet this is gonna work. The other thing I do is always bring a synth, which is synthetic, which is always easy for me because I only have one Badger brush right now. I just got stuck on the synthetics for ease of use. So this is one of my daily drivers, just a Razor Rock synthetic. I don't have a special container for it. What I do is in the dot bag, when I'm packing everything up to go in the suitcase to travel, this goes like that in the bowl. I can fit some samples in there, that kind of thing. The first time I traveled, I didn't bring a bowl, thinking I was going to save space, and I knew we were going to a hotel room with a kitchen, kind of like a suite, and I would just use a bowl from there, which I did, and it was okay. But I realized this fits just fine in the dot bag. It protects the brush, so I don't need to worry about the brush being squished or what have you. And like I said, there's some space. You can put some samples on the either side of that. So it doesn't seem like it using up a lot of space to bring the bowl that I'm used to using. So you just wet the brush for loading, squeeze it all out, and we'll just see how this does. So I've mentioned on my journal that I've noticed lathering issues as I travel, and it was brought up by Chris, I believe, that about water quality, and I think for sure, I mean, that's got a, I don't know what else could play a role if it wasn't that. I'm using the same soap, same brushes, same bowls. I certainly agree that, I could be in a bit of a hurry at times, or the rhythm is thrown off. But just in terms of, lather quality and the shave quality, it doesn't make a lot of sense that it could be anything other than the water changing from city to city, which is interesting because, I think for most of us, our lathering technique is pretty much the same, and we've learned to add water in small increments so we can switch from soap to soap. And just like not remembering what's tallow or vegan, that type of thing, I'm not very good at remembering, which soaps take a lot of water or a little bit of water to get to where I want them. Which is fine because I add, little bits of water and tend to know where to stop, so it's almost like using the same process for almost every soap tends to work for me. So this is the bay lime, and I like the blended scents, especially when you add citrus with a bay. So this is a great scent, and like I mentioned in my journal yesterday, it's a bit of a bummer, and it almost makes me want to go and look at what scents they have available again. Just because that acquisition disorder kicking in, and I don't think these are all that expensive. It's not a top performing soap. Sorry for those of you that are the Sterling fanboys. Sterling's a great company, and their samples are excellent bargain, I think. But in terms of performance, I would put it on par with that. Getting a decent lather. Sorry, it might be a little washed out. The lighting in here is kind of tough for me to set. Well, now you can't see the peaks and all that. But anyway, trust me, the lather doesn't look like it would not provide a great shave, although it's just a little bit more airy than I prefer. But I'm afraid this is one of those that looks like if you try to add a little bit more water to get past that airy stage to a creamy stage, it'll just fall apart. So anyway, I'm using, I don't know if you call it the aggressive razor, but a beefy razor, and get a decent shave out of it. There we go. Now look at that. Can we see? Get rid of the extra light here, and maybe you can't see that, but we're getting more on the creamy side and getting a little bit away from the airy side. So we'll leave it at that. Anyway, the shave from this stuff is fine. Just the post-shave residual is nothing to write home about. I'll get the shower done and I'll be back. Alright guys, we're back, and I'm fresh as a morning rose, and let's get the shave on. Wet the face just a little bit again. And so from that bit of I don't know why we're washing out on the colors here. There we go. You can see though that there's plenty of lather from that bit of dry, scratched up soap. I've said it before and I'll say it again, it is just awesome. I feel very lucky to be able to have so many soaps that almost every single one I use, I think, oh boy, I need to pull that out more often. Again, to each your own, but I feel like if you are not thinking that with every or almost every soap you have, you're doing yourself a disservice, because there are so many soaps out there. There's got to be several that really hit your wheelhouse. that's what ought to be in use in everybody's day. Alright, so today we are using Asylum RX with a Feather Artist Club blade in it, first use. That's something else that I had to deal with. Being on the trip, if you haven't used an Artist Club blade, they come in a package like this, and you kind of slide this little deal to cock the chamber, and it'll push one out the end. So the question was, to me, that I didn't think about beforehand, how do I deal with these blades? On this trip we moved from house to house to house, and I didn't want to pack it in the suitcase with the blade still in it. I mean, I wasn't worried about it damaging anything, but I figured that the blade would get dull and it would damage me. So I was able to, you can kind of see where the edge of the next blade is there. I was able to put the old blade, rinsed it off, dried it off, pushed that down a little bit with the old blade, and was able to slide it back in there to protect it. Normally, and I need to remind myself to travel with a DE because it's a little bit more mild, and so these water issues and things like that, and sometimes less than stellar lather would have less of an effect on my face with a more mild razor. And when I take those, it's rare that we do a trip where we're packing and unpacking and packing and unpacking, but you know, at 15 cents I've got no problem tossing one of those after one use. But the Artist Club is a little bit more expensive, and I have fewer of them, so I'd like to keep those around. So the trip has been good. Like I said, it's unusual that we'll travel from place to place. So we drove from San Francisco up to Portland in one day. It's about, depending on your traffic, the fastest we've done I think might be about 9.5 hours, a little less than 10, but that's was without kids blowing through. One stop for gas and that was it. This trip, I think it was just over about 10.5 hours. A couple quick stops for eating the car meals and gas. But visited family in Portland, headed up to Seattle with my parents where we rented a house, and boy, I tell you, the one thing was it's toasty down where we live. It's been anywhere from 60 to 70 degrees. We're in a little microclimate, so you travel about 10 miles any direction in the summer, and it's going to be 20 degrees warmer. But we've been living where we need light jackets, and have had a morning dew and a little bit of rain in the mornings, and both in Portland and Seattle it's high 80s, 90s, so we're trying to get as much done as possible, but then also finding time to not push it too far, and late afternoons can usually at home and just trying to stay cool. But we did see a lot of stuff. Start with Pike's Place Market, of course, because it's world famous. I don't know, I think the kids liked it. One of them, we saw the famous flying fish guys. If you don't know about that, there's a big fish market in Pike's Place Market where when you buy a fish, the guy picks it up out of the ice in the front and tosses it to a guy behind the counter a good distance away to pack it up, and it's just become a thing. So they gather a crowd and people watch that, and one of the kids turned to me and said, okay, they threw a fish. I don't get it. So, I don't know. Now it seems very hit and miss with 3 kids, 3 different ages, as to what one of them will find exciting. But nice stores, found some shade to sit in and bring food for everybody to share and that type of thing. We did see the Chihuly exhibit, so that was good. And now I've been talking. I know I had 1 pass done. I think I had 2. I don't know for sure. I think I did. Let's just go to pass 3. The Chihuly Museum is right at the base of the Space Needle, or right next to the base. So you kids thought that was cool. You basically can stare up at the Space Needle from where we were. And I was pleasantly surprised. Well, I guess both. I thought that the museum would be bigger, but what was there was impressive. You know, I've seen his chandeliers. I've seen the one at the Bellagio. And he also did one for one of the Disney cruise ships in their atrium, so I've seen that one. And he did have a room with huge chandeliers, but also some things in other styles and things like that that I've never seen in person before, so that was good. And then also outside, it's pretty cool to see, you know, glass works just intermix with trees and plants and that kind of thing. All right. And then got to see an old friend up there, and you know, lots of other little things. So we're back in Portland for a day, and then my wife has asked about Crater Lake off and on, so we're actually taking 2 days to go back home. Man, this is a good. I'm conflicted as to which to talk about. The vacation or the shave. This is a good shave, guys. Excuse me. But you know, sometimes you just hit it, and obviously I wasn't thinking about it, but we are dolphin skin BBS, gentlemen. Gotta trim up the facial hair a little later, but that's a good shave. So, I'm saying we'll take 2 days to get back down. We're gonna leave early tomorrow morning, and we'll kind of hit the top of Crater Lake Park and do half a loop of Crater Lake, and then head to a small town back on the highway and meet one of my wife's old friends for dinner, stay overnight, and then head home the next day. So, awesome BBS shave without thinking about it. If I thought about it, maybe I wouldn't be getting that little alum burn right there, but I do bring my full-size alum block. It's simple to pack, hard case, just bounce around without a problem. Rinse out the bowl and brush while it sits. So, but I have been keeping up with the forums. Can't always respond. But I've been keeping up with what you guys have posted. I've got a couple brushes in the work with Eric. Yesterday just posted the blanks he started with on those. I think we're almost, he's almost finished. I'm just, with anticipation, I'll post a few more photos along the way, but I think they're almost done. They're looking pretty sweet. And then in some talks, Chad keeps teasing things coming up on the shaving cadre. So there's one of those changes that I've been talking with him about, so I'm excited about working on that. This is a change I make for traveling. This is the Thayer's Lemon Witch Hazel. Just put it in a little spray bottle and just like that. I got this idea, somebody mentioned that this is what they do with their Thayers at home, or any witch hazel at home, because it makes application easy, and you also save on it, you're not using as much. But I love the smell of lemon, so I'm not looking to save on it. And then this is my Nivea Balm. Again, I guess I could bring the full-size one, but there's no point in that. It's a glass jar and you're using less than that. So yeah, so anyway, the Cottage is a nice break or something to catch up in when we're standing in line, and some exciting stuff coming down the road that I'm looking forward to. And that's my shave. Basically the only things I make smaller are the soaps, and I actually bought myself some empty soap containers, which I'll enjoy the next vacation, that I can bring soaps that I usually use that I don't have in sample size, and then the witch hazel and the balm. Otherwise, everything else is the same size, guys. I thought about if it needs to be smaller, and I think we're just saving a couple inches here and there, and like I said, with driving and checking bags and stuff like that, not something that I need to restrict myself with. So there we go, and I'll see you on the forums. If you just happen across this video, join us on theshavingcadre.com, and I'll see you later.